Good morning and welcome everyone to Schwab Live Daily. It's our Tuesday, July 7 edition of Trader Talk in today's market. I'm your host this morning, Kevin Horner, live from Castle Rock, Colorado, joined as usual on these days by my man out in California, the man of the people, Mr. Lee Bowl. How are things, Lee?
Sunny, as long as you don't
Yeah.
look at the screen. But
Well, it's interesting, isn't it,
this is
Lee?
so fun.
I believe things were a little rocky when I last was with you last Monday. And you know what? Since things have only been better, maybe I should take more vacation if the market's going to react favorably to my time away.
Yes,
Hap-
please leave. Leave right now.
I am happy to do it for you, Lee. Happy to do it for all of our attendees as well, if only the company would agree with me. All right, so we of course have a conversation on deck for you all today. Before we dive in, let me remind you to send in questions and comments in that space right below the presentation window here. Remember that your submissions for us are private. Lee and I like to get to as many as we can during our chat, but of course, with so much of you joining us these days, we will not be able to get to every postings. But we still want to hear from you, so do keep them coming in. Also, important review of disclosure detail. Let's just make sure to remember that our chat is informational and educational, that we're not making individual recommendations here, and any expression of opinion is always subject to change without notice. We do not encourage the use of technical analysis as the only means of your investment research. And while we will be using some ETFs to review sectors and some industries in the market here today, if you're thinking about using these specific ETFs for an investment, we encourage you to be familiar with them before doing so. Get a prospectus online for any we offer at schwab.com. You're also welcome to call anytime to request those. We're available 24/7 every day of the year. All right, and with that, Lee, I'm bringing up the heat map. Imagine we've got some headlines kind of leading to a little bit of this breather we're getting in the market after some real strong moves in the last few trading days here.
That's right. Let's start in Asia. So at the moment, looks like China is still falling short of their phase one purchase commitments. Also, leading U.S. tech companies have said they will suspend processing user data requests made by the Hong Kong authorities now that they have passed that new law. Also, vis-a-vis U.S. and China, the U.S. is looking at banning TikTok and other Chinese social media apps. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made those remarks on Fox News. Uh, TikTok, which is owned by ByteDance, has been on Washington's radar pretty much since last year. But the concern is that basically the Chinese government could look at user data. Apparently, that's the issue. In So we had a huge run up in the Chinese markets the last few days. Mainland China was still up again, up 0.4%, but Hong Kong took a dive of 1.4%. Japan was down 0.4%. India was up a 0.5%. Turning our attention to Europe, Kevin, industrial production in Europe came in weaker than expected. Um, Now, Europe has seemed to have better trends regarding the virus than many places, but their economic data hasn't really shown that much material improvement. The Bank of France updated its industrial sentiment surveys across a range of industries. The index did come back, but much less than expected. The big tailwind was in manufacturing. Also, the European Commission cut the Eurozone's economic forecast for 2020 and 2021. For instance, for the 2020 GDP, they were saying that they were going to get a hit of negative 0.77%, negative 7.7, but now they changed that to negative 8.7. Turning our attention to the virus, the U.S. is, quote, still knee deep in the first wave, unquote. That's what Dr. Fauci said yesterday. He also made some comments that, people are looking at the vaccine. He said that the immunity may be transitory or finite, as he called it, and the vaccine will probably require a booster to prolong protection. Uh, just a snapshot of what's going around across the country. Miami-Dade County Mayor rolled back the area's reopening. Los Angeles, out here, reported that almost 50% of our new cases were among residents between the age of 18 and 40. Hospitalizations for those people has also increased from 10% of hospitalized cases to about 25% in July. In New York City, they entered phase 3 of their reopening plan. This allows nail salons, spas, massage therapists to resume operations. Also, they loosened restrictions on sports and parks, such as basketball, volleyball, and handball. They did say, though, they wouldn't move forward with indoor dining. In Arizona, 90% of the state's intensive care beds are now in use. That was up from 60 to 70% back in April. Domestically, the only major report is the JOLTS report, and that one usually doesn't affect the markets hardly at all. All right, now it's time for stocks in the news.
All right, let's get to it. What do we got, Lee?
All right, Novavax, NVAX.
They got some funding, didn't they?
Just a little bit, yep. They're getting 1.6 billion for the development of a potential vaccine. It is the biggest one yet, biggest grant yet from the program. Yeah, it was up 30%. What was it?
Yeah, it's a pretty good move.
Yeah, 30%.
Mm. And it's a decent looking chart too. I mean, it's been a bit of an uptrend here for much of 2020 here, Lee.
Yeah, yeah. What are you gonna say? Watch today's low, but don't fight the tape.
Yeah.
All right, Regeneron, REGN.
Okay.
They also got a grant from the government, not 1.6 billion, but at least 450 million to supply its double antibody cocktail. So this is both, those antibody cocktails both can prevent and treat COVID. Looks like the 20-day is looking pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good area there. Used the 20-day a few times in this move it's been on. Much like that Novavax position up a lot in the year. So
That's right. Now let's look at the stock chart of the world's biggest automaker by market cap, Tesla.
oh, they're finally breathing, Lee.
Yeah, they're finally breathing a little bit, although JP Morgan came out and boosted their price target to 1371. Not 1370, not 1372, 1371. Here's what the analyst said, quote, if the company can manage 90,000 units during an extraordinary challenging quarter, there is no reason that Tesla cannot be shipping 130 to 140,000 units per quarter by the end of the year. So,
Yeah, I think that report late last week, Lee, gave a lot of fuel to the idea that they're going to be profitable in the shorter term
yeah,
more than the longer term. And of course, that means when you get to a profitable position as a stock that's been a cult following all along, you start to generate profits, and then you kind of bring in a lot more interested parties.
right. Simply from, obviously it's a uptrend with at least it made a new high intraday, but if it closes like this, it could be dark cloud cover candlestick, which sometimes suggests the pause.
The volume here look like a little bit up to, this could very well be that bit of a profit taking type day when you're up a little bit. That's been an incredible run, obviously, for the last 5 trading days, and to have volume up on the way as it's going down a little bit versus the last week. Yeah, it could very well be that kind of a daily.
Yeah,
I think a lot of traders are going to eyeball that 10-day more so than the 20, given the breakout here. And you can see that the 10-day is quite a ways away. It's at 1100, so we're 240 points from there.
yeah, maybe we'll have a sideways consolidation there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Quest Diagnostics,
All
DGX.
right. I'm sorry, what was that, Lee?
DGX, Dog
DGX. Thank
George
you.
X-ray.
All right, let me get the symbol correct up there, and then we might get a chart. There we go.
Yeah, so not one of the stronger charts. But anyway, not so much news about them other than they said because the testing is exploding, their test results take 6 days as opposed to 4 because they just can't keep up with the demand for their molecular diagnostic tests. Here's another popular stock that people are watching, NVIDIA. It's been on a tear.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the 20-day there is something to keep your eye on. The news on them is Bank of America Merrill Lynch raised their price target to the highest on the street, 460. That's quite a way from
Interesting.
here. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So what they said was the gaming market is still very strong, and it's going to get even stronger when you had the new consoles coming from Microsoft and Sony.
Mm-hmm. Both by end of the year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's right.
I think so. Yeah.
All
Terrific.
right.
That's gonna. I'm sure that'll make my Christmas wish list. All right. What else you got, Lee?
Teladoc. This one's
Yeah,
been
another one that's been on a bit of a
fire.
tear. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Nice pullback to the 20. Bounced off there. Um, anyway, they were rated overweight at Stephens. They said the valuation is still attractive, even though they realize it's been up 150% this year. They based their call on the large and still growing market for remote video medical visits.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
starting to wonder if that's ever going to change. I think
I
that's only going to
know.
continue.
I know there was a picture of a waiting room in the Wall Street Journal this morning. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's in it. People don't want to go to a doctor's office because they think they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna maybe catch something, I guess.
Hard to
Okay.
argue.
Yeah, Endo International, ENDP. Yeah, nice move higher.
Indeed.
It's still not the greatest chart in the world, though. But the FDA did approve their treatment for moderate to severe cellulite in adult women. It is the first injectable treatment for cellulite to receive FDA approval.
Mm.
Got to get through the 200-day before you
Yeah,
probably.
it's clearly had some issues with the 200-day in the last couple of months here. I think a lot of traders would wait for that kind of a move higher before really establishing anything here, getting out of this range.
Yeah. Let's see what. Some analyst actions. Apple new price target set by I forgot who, but they raised their price target from 340 to 400.
All right, bumped it up a
Wow.
little bit. That
Wow.
chart continues to look good.
What are you gonna do?
I was checking to
Nothing.
see if we had
Little
anything
bit of
in
a
there, but
little bit of a divergence though. Look at that. I mean, that's kind of severe, really. Although it's still overbought, so it's not
mm-hmm.
quite as bad as it could be. But you have 3 higher highs and 3 lower highs. Now, granted, I don't worry quite as much about the divergence when the lower highs are still in overbought territory, but it's something to keep an eye on.
It is. It definitely feels. I mean, I think it's there. The proof is actually in the numbers too. We're chasing. The market seems to be chasing some of these bigger positions in aggregate, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of just loading up the boat, so to speak, in these bigger ones. And yeah, those individuals are, maybe making up too great a percentage at this point. But hey, what are you going to do, Lee? You're not gonna fight what you're seeing here. That much is true. Certainly, that would be far more painful, I'm afraid.
Yeah. It just means if you were thinking of buying a little, maybe you buy just a little less with that divergence kind of there, because you might
Sure.
have a pullback where you could add a little bit more at a lower price.
Yes.
Okay, as far as the analyst actions go, Ambarella is a popular stock. They were switch from an underperform to a buy at Edom.
All right, a complete 180, huh?
Complete 180. Yep.
Capturing the 20-day
Yeah.
first time in about a month.
Yeah. See if he can hold it though.
Yep, that's an important level.
All right. Let's see. Dominion. D. Yeah. So we had a question on this one.
Mm-hmm.
What is the outlook? Well, I can tell you what the analysts are saying here. Credit Suisse downgraded them based on, I guess, that sale of their stuff to Warren Buffett. Credit Suisse put them at a neutral from outperform. A little late to the party, though.
You're probably, that's a good way of saying it. Yeah, this
Yeah.
falls under that that headline that Lou likes to say about analysts changing their tune only after the news is made public.
Yeah.
Um,
But
so I
anyway,
can tell you this chart is not a pretty look.
no, I mean, the best case is just going to chop around here.
Yeah.
And that's the best case, I think. All right. Credit Suisse, CS. All right. They were downgraded at UBS to neutral from buy. But the 20 still looks okay, although it's beginning to turn down a little bit.
Yeah, not ideal
No.
necessarily that it's curling lower like that. But I think that the range that's been established, I'm going to put a support line in here for you, Lee, because I think this is the area to eyeball regardless of what the 20 is doing. I think this is as important as anything.
Yeah, I think that's it. So if you like it, stay in it unless it breaks 9 3/4. Another downgrade, Illumina.
You get that right?
Downgraded.
Hey, I nailed
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
every now and again. If it'll give us a chart, we'd be even happier. There we go.
All right. Now that is a glaring
Yeah,
divergence. I'm
yeah,
sorry. That
you
one.
nailed it. Yep, we were thinking the same thing.
Yeah. So that suggests a pullback. Maybe it'll get down to the 20. Although, they've done better since it opened, but they were downgraded to neutral at Guggenheim from buy.
Okay.
Let's take a look at some of the payment companies. Piper Jaffray started coverage both PayPal and Square. They have PayPal as a buy.
That chart just continues to look great.
Yeah, and the other one, I mean, what are you going to say? Use the 20-day moving average there, just stay in it till it doesn't do it. Although we're getting a little bit of a divergence there too.
Little bit, but it is approaching that overbought territory now. Square,
Yeah,
on the other hand, goodness gracious.
yeah, but Piper did, of the two, they like PayPal better. I think it's because Square has had maybe a bigger percentage run. I don't know, but they initiated them with a neutral as opposed to PayPal with a buy. Interesting.
Yeah, I think you got to watch the 20 on both leads. I think they both have basically the same chart. Both broke the 20 early April. Both have held the 20 exceedingly well. Neither have closed below it since then. And what are you going to say? Just that's about as well established a supporting moving average as you'll find.
Yep. All right, that's all I got. I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can do our index review.
Let's do that. We've already had an interesting morning, as you can see. Everything was red to get us going. The Nasdaq has flipped on us. The S&P looks pretty close to going positive. The range that we've been watching is the level above 2980 or so. Been basically calling support between 2980 and 3000. We had come down to it. Things last time I was on the show last Monday, things got a little dicey as we were testing that 200-day moving average, but have only gotten strong since. And not only did we rally off of it? We kind of broke out of our little consolidation ledge there yesterday, Lee, with a high in the neighborhood of 3180. We took out these three peaks that we were seeing as all. In fact, if you take into account the Friday move, you had a lot of these tails where we had hot starts and we get thrown back into range. Well, yesterday's action finally took that out. And so kind of waiting to see, does this continue? Do we get a little continuation move out of this? The fact that we were a little weak on the open might have brought some buyers in, as you can see. Like I mentioned about the NASDAQ, as we'll check in just a second, but there's shown some strength in the NASDAQ positions here this morning. So um, do you have anything on this chart that pops out to you here on the daily, Lee?
We were talking yesterday about you could consider that a descending triangle. We had a break of that, and the measured move we figured out would put you, yeah, up there somewhere 3,200.
Okay, so you're talking about the peak of the triangle here at about 3230, which came back down in the neighborhood of 3,000. So, and then having broke out of it, Lee, would you put the pivot move right at here based on this ledge, right around 3150?
Yeah, maybe just a little lower where that red candle is 2 days ago or 3 days ago, right there.
Right
Yeah,
there. Okay,
add a couple hundred there,
sure,
I mean 100 points rather, and that's where you get the 32 something.
sure. Makes pretty good sense. Let's see what it looks like real quickly on the intraday, and then we'll check out the NASDAQ here. See, this is interesting to me, Lee, because it's already recaptured the pivot. I mean, we gapped down pretty well to S1, really didn't give up any of our trend move at all, and then we quickly picked up the pivot point and have now held the pivot for 20 minutes. So you're basically looking at kind of resetting the equilibrium price for the day as the pivot here at this point. So
That's right. Yep.
and keep a look on that. Keep an eyeball on it at least.
All right.
All right. Let's do the composite here real quick. So the NASDAQ continues to be the most strong of our indices. And in fact, the NASDAQ 100, the strongest of those. Again, Lee, a little divergence, but there's nothing really we can. I mean, you really can't complain about what you're getting out of the RSI when you're moving to new highs here. That's basically in overbought territory right now.
Right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we were talking about that the last couple of days. How I don't quite worry so much.
Yeah.
Like you said before, when uh you're basically at overbought, even though you have the divergence. So
Yeah, and just remember, overbought doesn't mean it is due to reverse course. Everybody, overbought can stay overbought for far longer than you realize. That's for sure.
yeah. All right, let's look at the cues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Jeez.
yeah, you can't argue with that. Let's take a look at the cues, as you said, Lee, and see if we can get some on balance volume view here as well. But yeah, that RSI, and look at that. It just, yeah. Don't fight it.
Nope.
Don't fight it. Have your stops. Know your prices where you'd be fine, and you'd say, hey, if it breaks below here, I'm going to think it's going to get a little weak. Those are the spots where you want to take position off. By all means, start to reduce position when you start to break some support. But Lee, it seems like every intraday test of support has resulted in a pretty good amount of buying pressure.
That's right.
So
Let's see if the Russell has gotten any better.
I'm afraid it hasn't, but I also haven't really been looking lately. So let's see. Yeah,
Yeah. Just can't. It's failed another couple times at the 200. So this is range bound at best.
Yeah, and you're getting that from the RSI as well, which is not really doing much of anything. It's just kind of sideways here, just like the Russell. Yeah, I think you're right on the money, range bound basically, probably between, yeah, I mean, best case is the 50 and 200, right?
Right.
You hope not to call into question the 1350 ledge down below it here at support. But, that's kind of what you're in between here is the 50 and the 200 for a bit. And really only getting outside of that would change the viewpoint in the shorter term.
So if you're trading the index ETFs and you want momentum, this is probably not the place to be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Momentum has certainly been driving the market moves, right?
Right.
I mean, and again, that's maybe feels like it's a handful of stocks, and it certainly would be evidenced as well, I would imagine. But you know, if you're trading, you're looking for momentum.
Right.
Momentum's where you make your money in trading, at least. So, all right, how about the transports here, which seem to be similar to that Russell, right? Just kind of sideways here after.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting last week that after getting down here and kind of nestled along the 50-day, we were going to get a little bit more of an exuberant move to the upside, but that didn't quite happen in the last couple of trading days here.
No, kind of mired in there.
Yeah, so I think this is an important range to watch. This is starting to speak to us as a bit more range bound in the short termly, but if it can get above that 95 and a quarter range here, I think it has the opportunity, of course, to get back to challenge the prior peak at least. But that it wasn't like we stayed above the 200 for very long here at all. This was only 2 days above the 200.
Right. All
How
right.
about some sector action here, Lee?
Yeah. Look.
All right, so energy getting a little bit whacked. We're led by communications and technology.
Usual suspects, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So let's see. I want to look at energy here real quick because this is the move that concerns me. All of is this 2 full weeks below the 50-day?
Yeah.
That is not ideally. And then you've got the 20, which for the prior 2 weeks had been acted as clearly as acting as resistance, right? So now you've got that overhead with it as well.
Yeah. So
This is not a great looking group.
no, I think you have to say that this has gone from bullish to neutral.
And neutral could very well be best case, Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I don't track energy as a group as probably nearly as much as I ought to, but this ledge right here is fairly important for the group, I would think.
Yeah. You break that, you're going right back down to 33.5.
And that's nearly 10% move.
I know. So we got to watch that.
That's significant. So keep an eye on that ledge there, everybody, at around 36 and a quarter. Pretty good area of importance for the group. The other area that just last week I was hearing that we all needed to be paying closer attention to was financials. And the financials have actually held up okay. So there's still this area around the 50-day, but this looks a little bit better to me than the energy group. But
Yeah,
it's not a whole lot better.
No.
Let's see. What's jumping off the screen at you, Lee?
Well, let's look at the stocks to see if they're making an
Okay.
all-time high. These are the semis.
Yep.
Yep, holding the breakout level right now.
2 days above the all-time level.
So this one's good because you can set your risk really easy. A little bit easier than maybe the Qs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could also say that it just broke out of an ascending triangle there.
Yes, you can. But at the moment, a little bit weaker on the RSI, could take some time to resolve.
That's right.
Or we could get thrown back into range as well.
Yeah, so keep your eye there on that. What is that? 277-ish, 275, right?
Yeah, if we're talking about the breakout point.
Yeah, 275.
Yeah, I think so. 275. The low from yesterday was 275.13, and we're not close to it today. I think 275 is the area to keep a close eye on there.
Let's look at utilities too. That's kind of a little bit of a tell.
Okay.
It's range bound, but it failed at the 20 yesterday.
Hmm.
And I think I mean, interest rates were a little higher yesterday, but what's the 10-year doing right now? Because I think,
Pretty flat. I mean, down 0.05, but essentially flat.
yeah, so down a little bit, but utilities still aren't rallying. I think there is a bit of concern um, that with the stimulus, not necessarily, and the extra money that's been paid out is going to end in July, that there's a little worry that people are not going to be paying their utility bills if that
Hmm.
happens. So I think the best case here is range bound at the moment.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense to me as well, Lee. It's just a chart that doesn't quite jump out at you, does it? There's just a lot of chop here.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. How about healthcare, Lee? We had a couple of biggies, a couple of bigger stocks of the group there. The biotech's doing well. This is
The overall sector is
real
range bound,
range bound. Yeah.
but let's look at the biotechs. We've been doing just fine.
Okay. Check those littles first. Yeah, holding
Yeah.
that breakout. And this is what you like to see from a breakout.
Yep.
Breakout,
Yes.
test, more of
Yeah.
the
For a
same.
new high. Yep. So,
I imagine the IBB looks similar. Yeah.
yep.
Ooh, getting a beautiful candle today on the IBB.
Yep. Let's look at home builders.
Sure.
They were on a tear and then they kind of broke down a little bit. Yeah, so they've gone from bullish to neutral, I think, now.
Yeah, I'll agree because what I'm seeing in here is much more horizontal support than anything else.
Yeah, so I think the easy money on the upside is kind of over on this one. We had pointed out it a long time ago in that channel, but now we've broken down out of the channel, so now it's neutral.
Yeah, so I'll keep an eye on these levels here. 41 and a half, 41 and a quarter to 41 and a half looks to be pretty important. And I have all that. All right, Lee. Let's see. Check out the staples.
Range bound.
Pretty range bound too.
Plus, it's right in the middle of the range. We're not getting anything there.
Yeah, it's smack dab in the middle of it all. I'd like to be a buyer down there near 57 if it's confirmed again. But you can break out and get above the 200 with a couple of closes. Ideally, 3 closes above the 200 would certainly look a bit better, but that's about as range bound as you're going to find as well. I agree.
Yeah, coin toss.
Yeah, it really
No,
is.
no edge.
Discretionary looks challenging here, though.
Yeah, well, Amazon's been on a tear. The
Yeah, it is.
RCD doesn't look as good.
I'll bet not. Let's see.
This is discretionary without an overweight in Amazon. Yeah.
And that explains the everything, doesn't it?
Yep. Although, that looks kind of neutral too.
Yeah, that 20-day just really provided resistance yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, 50 looks like a good support here in the short run. Hopefully, that's an area where it looks to hang in there.
All right. Well, we had been doing, since you were gone, we did a lot
Yeah.
of the uptrend breakout with increasing volume. Let's think of something else because those were pretty good. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was only watching on a cursory level, so it was very limited, but it seems like the momentum plays last couple of days, last 3, 4 days here had worked out pretty well.
Let's just look at healthcare period. We'll get some biotechs. We'll get some,
Mhm.
it's range bound, but get stuff above the 20 and the 50.
Sure.
See if we can get
See
something
what we
good
can
there.
find there.
Yep.
Good for me. So, healthcare. All right. Check our criteria here. All the industries and sub-industries. We'll add a last trade greater than the 50 as well as the 20. Enough volume over the 500,000 shares daily for the last 6 months, plus our A and B rated. Gives us 35 matches. That's a good number for sure.
Yep.
All right, so let's check that one. We'll save that as a watch list. Get that loaded up here. All right, healthcare. Today's date, the 7th, June, or July 7 already. Goodness graciously. That means we're on the downslope. We're on the second half of the year. Can't believe it's true. All right, Lee. Big list.
We've been following Amgen. Let's see if that's up on one of our breakout screens. It's flagging a
Interesting.
little bit.
Yeah.
Interesting that it's holding the low from a couple days ago. Also,
Yeah, that is interesting that it got that buying right there, huh?
right.
Nice RSI confirmation up here. Check the price action the last few days on the 5-day chart as well. Notice that it got down, so it opened low, hit that S1 or came close to it, got bought up. Might get a little bit more confident in the move today if it can recapture and hold the pivot. Volume's a bit light on the bounce though, Lee.
Yeah, but what I liked was that little sell-off we had yesterday. Look at it. It was on very low volume
Sure.
comparatively intraday, and then when it started strengthening, look how the volume shot up. So
Can see that,
yeah,
yeah.
at the end of the day. So
Right
that's
in
actually
here.
yeah. So the only thing with today that's a little could be better is the volume right now is kind of lower. But I bet you'll see the volume if we can break through the pivot of
Mm-hmm.
258, the volume might turn around and go back up.
That would be my expectation as well, is that you'd see this kind of a crossing maneuver if you could get that action, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. ABBV.
A few
A lot of
requests
requests
there.
for that one. Just chugging along.
Loving that 20-day.
20, loving the 20. A
Wow.
little bit of you'd like to have a little bit more momentum from the RSI, but can't always have everything.
You can ask, but
Yeah.
can't always get it. But I agree. It's an interesting ledge here, Lee.
Yeah.
There's your pardon me, your weekly chart. I think it's in a pretty good range. You got to get above that $100. Above the 100 though, and things start to look pretty interesting. I think that's why it's taking some time at this
Yeah.
ledge.
Yeah. You're getting a couple tails up there.
Yeah. I mean, breaking out here, if you started trading above 100, I would anticipate this picking up a little bit of steam, Lee.
Yeah.
But I think your support is pretty well sound at the 20-day, and a lot of traders would look for that. Breaks closes below the 20 would be pretty significant. It tried to do it here. Notice this was these 2 days in particular. This was a move below it on an intraday basis that got bought up. This was an open below it that got
Bought up.
bought up. So pay attention to the closes, everybody. Try not to get too excitable midday on those moves below major moving averages. I know that's tough. I can certainly tell you that I've taken myself out of positions on intraday basis that was unwarranted. So just be aware.
All right. Gilead. A lot of requests for Gilead.
You got it. Now that's a choppy chart.
Yeah. Let's go back a little. Let's go back
Sure,
to
let
the
me add
chart.
some time to that. Well, it was like in the 50 from a support standpoint until it broke it, and then the 50 became resistance, Lee.
Yeah. So now it's really choppy.
This looks like a consolidating period here after the breakdown.
Yeah.
Kind of leads you, this is as a consolidation, you would think that it would be a continuation of the initial move, which was the move it came in with, which was the breakdown move. So question becomes, is this actually setting up favorably for, now granted, this is a well-rated security, but is this setting up favorably more for a short than it is a long?
Well, the other thing is, if you did a line chart for the closes, I think you'll see it's almost a head and shoulders
All
if you
right,
take
well,
out a lot of that.
Let's do that just for the heck of it. Let's see how the line looks. And then that is a little interesting.
Yeah, kind of looks like a sloppy head and shoulders with the neckline or just the shade over 72, maybe.
Okay, I see that. So this being your far left shoulder, your
Yeah,
double top head.
yeah,
hmm Double top, that's significant as well, isn't it? It's a little easier to
yeah,
see on the line chart. And then your failures at the 50-day are pretty evident as hit on the line. And
yeah,
almost all of these peaks are lower than the last. That is not ideal setup here from a long side. So, maybe this is one where if you're long, you're being a bit cautious about your situation, or at least aware that you could get thrown back to the bottom of this short run range in the neighborhood of 72. But Lee, you're calling that out. Break a 72 and almost, certain you're going to see the 200-day down there at around 70.
yeah, I think so. Test the top of the previous range even too, way down
hmm
there.
Yeah, right in this range, 69.
Yeah,
You've got an area of interest here, but you know, I always hesitate when the chart looks less optimistic when we're finding these with well rated A's and B's. It's a trick to suggest that you should be looking at the short side, but this chart is not speaking to a bullish, or a long view necessarily.
no,
Be
it
aware of
isn't.
that.
All right, Bristol Myers, another request.
Sure thing. Let me change this back to my candles here. All right, BMY. Let's see what we have. Okay.
Kind of a messy chart too.
Yeah, it is.
Just trying to figure out what to do around the 50-day moving average, which did act as support and then it broke. So
Yeah. Today's action hasn't taken out the high from yesterday, and I think that's your first real indication that it might actually have more opportunity if it could get above the high from yesterday. But yesterday it was through the 50-day and closed below the 50-day. Today it's through the 50-day. See how it closes. Does it fail at the 50 again?
right, I'd want with this kind of choppy chart, even if I was looking at the 50, one day above it wouldn't do much for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'd like to see a bit more.
All right,
Um,
let's look at another big pharma, Lilly. Let's take a look at Lilly.
all right. That's
That's a
much
much
better.
better chart. Yeah,
Held this nice gap move on the gap and then the retest. I think the ledge there at the 50-day pretty well established, 156. Putting the trade on now makes you feel like you're a little late to the party, I think. But I could understand if you've been wanting to own it, you're liking the action the chart is giving you. You're actually given reason to maybe start small.
yeah. Start small, pull back to support. You could add.
Mm-hmm. But all of these look a bit choppy, don't they?
Yeah, they do. But this one is certainly better than Bristol Myers.
Yeah, I agree from the chart standpoint for sure.
Yeah. Let's look at something in a different area than farmers
Sure,
and biotech. Let's look at Molina Health, MOH, in the managed care.
you got it.
Eh,
Mm. I'm not sure what I'd call it, Lee, but the chart looks fine.
yeah, again, choppiness, but
I
the
mean, everything
50
that's
day,
happened since then is what matters to me.
yeah, the 50 doesn't seem to have any relevance at all. We just
Right.
traded back and forth through it, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to that.
Yeah, it hasn't really. I mean, it's this huge move it made was gargantuan. 100, 105, 195. I mean, that's fantastic. Um, but I think that it's not. I mean, it's an uptrending chart, but it's not trending at the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Uh, and so I agree. I think you might have to set some levels that you like, but not necessarily working against moving averages just yet.
Right. Looks like,
Yeah.
on the weekly chart, that's more of a flag.
hmm Yeah, that 160 is quite important in the short term
Yeah,
where this
definitely.
is right now. I'm
Yeah.
just right on it.
So
So,
if you own it,
hmm
you know, um, you just don't want it to break 160 on the intermediate term.
definitely.
And with that, Kevin, unfortunately, our time is up. What is coming up next year on
All
Schwab
right,
Live Day?
everybody, as always, check that calendar down below. But up next, we have our senior derivatives trading strategist, Nina Milivots, joined by special guest Tony Zhang, chief strategist at Options Play. They're discussing, options Greeks today and how they work. Now, a little later today, Lee returns for charting the markets.